going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner.
Man, I'm confident in our offense, that's for sure.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barrett. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube, and make sure to rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast, especially Apple Podcasts. We will be giving away a Darnell Wright jersey. Just rate the show 5 stars out on Apple Podcast. Link down in the description. But today, we are live right after the Bears' victory. It's almost been a year. Bears win 40-20 live on Thursday Night Football. This feels good, ladies and gentlemen. How are we feeling? Let me know down in the comments, because I'm feeling good. I know that the second half was a little bit slower, but still 40-20. Washington Commanders, they were 2-2 coming into this, and we talked about this during the pregame, where overall, the Washington Commanders did well against bad teams and still were competitive against the Eagles, but got absolutely smoked by the Bills. And Thursday Night Football, anything can happen, and what happened? Bears end up putting a whooping on the Washington Commanders. But also, if we're just looking at the stats right now, Justin Fields threw for 282 yards, 4 touchdowns, and from an offensive perspective with rushing, 178 rushing yards as a team and 5.6 yards per carry for the running game. Absolutely good. Very, very good performance. And then over at the defense, we did allow 388 passing yards, but only allowed 2.9 rushing yards. So the rushing defense was there, passing defense, not so much. But let's just talk about some thoughts, right? How do we feel after this win? How are we feeling because we finally won? And to me, I think that this team played well. I think that this team gave you exactly what you wanted to see out of this team. We saw that the offense did well against the Denver Broncos, and I said this in the preview, that the Commanders, their defense isn't as good as I think a lot of people were cracking it up to be, but I still don't think that this is necessarily a giant fluke with the Chicago Bears. I don't know about all you out there, but I was watching the Amazon Prime Vision where it kind of shows where everybody's running, and the difference between the offensive scheme that the Bears were calling in the first half to the second half looked completely different. In the first half, there was multiple people open, and Justin Fields was throwing the football to those people. So to me, I was seeing Justin Fields the way that I want to see Justin Fields. He was playing very well, and then the second half, you kind of saw them get a little bit more reserved, and then in return, they weren't scoring as much as they were in the first half. But let's talk a little bit more about Justin Fields, because I have a question for everybody out there. And Gene's saying, I'm feeling good. I can't believe it, right? It's been a year, or almost a year. I think on the 20th, it would officially be a year, which ironically enough is my daughter's birthday. So her entire life, she has not experienced the Bears winning until now. This is the first Bears victory that she's had in her very short life cycle. But I kind of want to just know out there, and for those watching out on YouTube, do you still want Caleb Williams or Justin Fields? This is a question that I'm generally curious about. What is the take from Bears fans about Caleb Williams, about Justin Fields? Because I still kind of stand the same, right? Justin Fields, incredibly talented. And what we saw today was Justin Fields ripping it. And we said it after week 3, where Justin Fields just needed to start ripping it and just throw the football. That's what he's doing now. He's throwing the football, and we're seeing what he's capable of doing. Yes, he did miss Darnell Mooney a handful of times, but still, he's immensely talented. We saw what he was capable of doing. The ball, the snaps were high. He would one hand grab it and then run it for a first down. He's got all the talent in the world. And yes, Caleb Williams is a very talented quarterback. Justin Fields, though, if you can unlock him in Chicago, that makes it so that it's a lot better for the Bears, because now if the Panthers get the first pick, or if the Bears still get the first pick, and Justin Fields is looking great, you might be able to shop that around. But what do I think? I think ultimately if the Bears continue to lose, but we won today, if that ends up happening, I think that Matt Eberflus would be out. So to me, Justin Fields, the best thing he can do is ball out. And here's another game that he did well, even though 15 of 29 and towards the second half wasn't that great. I still felt that Justin Fields had a pretty good game, made some pretty good throws, and also ran and used his legs a lot more. Very good game, I thought, overall for Justin Fields. So credit to him, but let's try and see a full game next time. But I am more than happy. This is not going to ruin my Thursday after a Bears victory. But let's continue talking about this offense a little bit more. And we have to talk about definitely the MVP of the game, Darnell Mooney. 8 catches for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, should have been 4 on the outside where they called it out of bounds, but he was definitely in bounds. We tweeted about this out on Twitter. But 10 targets, 8 catches. We said this pre-show, and we said this in the preview. 80%. That's really what percent it is when you just target the guy. The more you give it to DJ Moore, the more he's going to make these plays. So it is a good idea to get it in the hands of a playmaker, especially when he's going against a 150-pound corner or however big Emmanuel Forbes is. Very small, so it's great to see DJ Moore take advantage of that. But also, you saw what Luke Getsy was trying to do in the middle of the field with Cole Kmet, kind of taking over against Barton, their middle linebacker. And I love seeing it because it seemed like they really were trying to game plan against Barton, and maybe Washington kind of adjusted that at halftime. But I really liked how they were attacking the middle of the field, and Justin Fields putting a couple good balls to Cole Kmet in the middle of the field. You'll love to see it. But besides that, Robert Tonyan had 2 catches. But other than those, no one else had catches. So there's only 3 people that got catches. Khalil Herbert and Darnell Mooney both got targets. Same thing with EQ St. Brown. But Darnell Mooney, 4 targets, all misses. It got me a little nervous about the chemistry between Mooney and Fields. Mooney seemed to kind of hang his head a little bit, which I didn't love seeing. Like, the prime vision was great because you could see everything. And there was a couple plays that Mooney did have his head down. But still, I get it because there was a pass interference that didn't get called on him. I'd like to see a little bit more out of Darnell Mooney next game. Not to say, like, let's force feed him target, but let's start to get these completions to our number 2 receiver now that Chase Claypool is most likely not going to be out here. So, but yeah, there's Broski in the comments. Bears victory. How does it feel, right? It feels so good. But yeah, so DJ Moore, I must have said Darnell Mooney for this. But yeah, DJ Moore, absolutely crazy. 230 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. But let's also talk about the offensive line. So we talked about the wide receivers. We talked about the quarterbacks. I want to talk a little bit about this offensive line because Lucas Patrick goes down. And what I thought was interesting was they put Ja'Tyre Carter, who we were begging to put at left guard rather than having Lucas Patrick at the center position. They put Ja'Tyre Carter at the left guard, but then Tevin Jenkins, they kind of subbed him in, subbed him out. It was really weird. But Tevin Jenkins, to me, he looks like when a user is in Madden is trying to be an offensive lineman. And what they're really trying to do is they're just trying to bulldoze everybody. They're a bull in the china shop, just trying to plow somebody down. That's what Tevin Jenkins kind of looked like out there. And I'm totally for it. He doesn't seem to be like completely set in his ways, but I just love how crazy he is. Love how big of a plow he is. But why don't we just put him out there a little bit more? Why don't we leave him out there more? I think, and I agree with Broski, like he says, when I feel Tevin came in and it elevated everyone. I agree, where it seemed like as soon as Tevin Jenkins came in, everybody else was elevated. Everybody else was ready to go. And the running game was phenomenal. When they were running over to Tevin Jenkins' side, you saw people plowing him down. And Darnell Wright, there's the clip of him just bulldozing someone and keep on going. That's the power of this line. And I think, too, you see what the Bears, what this offensive line should have been looking like and could have been looking like early on. Because also, Nate Davis had a good game today. I watched every snap, and I would actually rewind because I'm the only one watching the game. My wife's not watching the game with me, so I would like rewind and rewatch. And Nate Davis had a very good game. And this is very promising because when he was signed, I said this, he's a solid player, and you got him for a solid contract. First game looked terrible, and then last week looked good. This week looked good. I thought overall, Nate Davis played well. This offensive line could be good. And now Cody Whitehair, you got to start snapping the ball a little bit more. But I think that this line is starting to come together. Larry Borom didn't have a terrible game like I was scared of, but I thought overall this line played decently. They made some holes early on, not so much, but I thought it was good. I thought it was a solid offensive performance. But let's also just finish it off with this rushing game. With the running game, Khalil Herbert is a beast. Khalil Herbert, 10 carries, 76 yards, 7.6. His longest carry was 34 yards. Even when you subtract that, it's still a pretty good game that Khalil Herbert had out there. And the fact that he's carrying people, that he's pushing people over, he's running with aggression. And speaking of that, Roschon Johnson gets knocked out, Herbert out, but Blasingame comes in. Not great, but I mean, it's a fullback playing halfback. What did you expect out there? I thought overall, all things considered, they were still able to have a pretty well-rounded offensive attack, but still the biggest piece, step on their throats. Don't let off the gas. Just dominate. And you saw it. And when I was watching the game, you could definitely tell that the game plan changed. They got more conservative. And I know that they're just trying to get out of there with a win. But to me, it was too close. We had Joey Sly miss a field goal, which I said he can miss some of those field goals. He misses. If he makes that, maybe we have a different story out here, right? Step on their throats next time. Make sure to dominate. Bears have a pretty easy schedule coming up. So now let's try to rebound. Let's try to stack some wins together and play well. As long as the team is playing well, I'm a happy man. That's all I care about is playing well. But yeah, Broski out there saying, Borom sucks and so does Braxton. Bears need a left tackle. That they have some high picks, and Olufoshanu out of Penn State is someone to look out for. Very, very gifted athlete. I haven't grinded too much tape on him, but he is someone that could play pretty well. But let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. And the defense let up 17 points in the second half. And like I was saying before, 388 passing yards to Sam Howell, but he did throw it 51 times, completed 37 passes, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's right, we got an interception, but even more importantly, Johnny PayPal, before his departure from the show, for those that don't know, he left the show. He had his last show yesterday. We all wish him well. We jokingly said, bold take, we're going to get a sack. Bold take, we might get 2 sacks. What do you know? We get 5 freaking sacks. We were sending the house. We were blitzing. We were trying to get to him, but also we were actually beating some people out there. Andrew Billings continues to be an absolute beast. Like, just watching the tape, he can run defend. He can pass rush. He is a very good defensive lineman for us right now. I just want him to keep it up. But also those watching, let me know what stood out to you about this Bears defense. Because 20 points, we also snapped the streak of most games with allowing 25 points. Let's celebrate that. Let's get some claps for the Bears. We broke 2 abysmal streaks today. It's a good day. It's a good freaking day. But let's talk about the sacks. TJ Edwards came in and got 1. Greg Stroman came in on a corner blitz, which I want to just kind of pause and mention a little bit. Because I actually really like the defensive play design is really great because you had a running back to the right of the quarterback, and then you had Stroman on the left-hand side. Stroman comes in, safety comes down so that the quarterback has to shift. And then as the running back is going out, Yannick Ngakoue ends up covering the running back on the side so that Howell has to has to think, gets smacked for the sack. I thought that was a brilliant play design, was executed to a T. Bears end up coming away with a sack. DeMarcus Walker comes out with a sack. And like we've said before, at defensive tackle, because that's where he's successful and most successful on the interior. Yannick Ngakoue gets a sack. And, I guess ESPN credits Rasheem Green. I wish they gave Yannick a half a sack for that. But ESPN is crediting Rasheem Green for the sack. But in my opinion, Ngakoue slowed him down. Ngakoue did most of the work. But then Rasheem Green just kind of cleaned it up. But anyways, 5 sacks. I'll take it any way we can get it. We have defensive linemen getting it. And it wasn't all Jaquan Brisker getting the sacks. Let's go. That is great to see. Turnovers, keys to victory. Bears defense played decently. And I want to say a couple things too, right? We're not going to be all super optimistic, all sunshine and rainbows all the time. I thought TJ Edwards played a decent game at linebacker, but I'm still concerned about Tremaine Edmonds with just how he was playing out there. He just doesn't look great. He doesn't look to be that stalwart in the middle. Maybe it just takes some coaching, but yet again, best year was last season and then comes out, and then now he's kind of playing the way he always has kind of played out for the Buffalo Bills. So Tremaine Edmonds is definitely, he kind of went down with an injury, definitely someone to watch out for. But I think when you talk about this secondary with all the injuries that have happened, you saw even a Terrell Smith go down. There was a lot of injuries that happened to the Bears, and I thought that they, for all things that were going on, had a pretty decent game overall on this defense. Now, I still don't love that we gave up 20 points, and you also factor in how many times they went for it on 2 and weren't able to convert. So maybe it should have been around, 23, or I can't remember off the top of my head how many touchdowns they scored, but it should have had a little bit more points. I maybe think 22 or so. But anyways, still pretty good performance for this defense. Can't really complain too much. Still putting some people back deep, but overall defense pretty solid. Broski saying first game, Flus looked pissed off all game. Yeah, for real. Even at the end of the game was still barking on the sidelines. I like that. But Bears showed their deep at corner. I agree. I will say though, I was watching Jalen Jones on it, because they can kind of show it. Jalen Jones was off a couple times. Stevenson, there's still those rookie mistakes that we've talked about. He's going to be having those rookie mistakes. So some of those things that did happen, I'm truly fine with some of the mistakes that he did make out there. But yeah, but it was a little bit crazy. And Ryman saying they closed out a game with a fullback as your running back. Respect, right? Absolutely. And yeah, Deonta Foreman not out there, not redshirted, but was a healthy inactive. But they ended up activating Velus Jones, I guess, just a fair catch. But I also like to, not to go back to the offense, but to go back to the offense, I actually really liked how they leveraged Velus Jones by putting him in motion and then snapping it and not giving him the ball. Because by doing that, we talked about this in the previews, do more motions. And you saw a lot of times when they ran motions, they were able to get better yards. It's a good trick. A lot of the best offensive minds use a lot of those motions. But also another question to people out there, I didn't have this pre-populated. Do we still want Eric Bieniemy? Because he only got 20 points on us. Are we still really wanting Eric Bieniemy? And now, not one game defines somebody, but I was expecting a lot more out of Bieniemy. I thought he was going to be bringing the kitchen sink, but didn't really see it too much. But let's go over to the last segment, right? Because we got to give some love to the special teams. This is the special teams review. So we got to break down the special teams because I don't know about anybody else out there, but when I was watching the Bears, I was going, thank God for Cairo Santos. Now he might miss another field goal later on, but thank God for Cairo Santos because I truly felt like it's nice to have a kicker that we can trust, that was able to hit the field goals when needed most. And then you see Joey Sly, where he does miss these easy ones. He misses the ones that you expect him to make. Santos has been consistent. Even Trenton Gill, I think that they have this out here, but he had one inside the 20. I thought he had two in the 20. I thought Gill had a good game. Santos had a good game. Trent Taylor, 8.5 yards for the punt returns. I thought he had a good game. Valus was great at waving at the ball for the fair catches and the kick returns. I mean, overall, it was a pretty good game from the special teams as a whole. So nothing that I can really call out too much. Crowder did get 20 yards on a return, but I thought overall pretty good. Also, Broski saying Bieniemy looks like Jabba the Milk Dud. I like it. To me, he kind of looks like he would be like Shaq's cousin. Like he's got a little like Shaqness to him. I feel, but let's go over to the final thoughts to just kind of close this post game review up. I think overall the Bears look good. And this is the first time that I really felt like the Bears looked like a team. And we saw this in the first half. The defense played well. We only allowed 3 points. And then the offense played well. We scored 27 points. Is this going to happen every week? No. But I thought that the Bears played like a team that we have not seen. We have not seen a defense allow just 3 points in so long. So now the Bears, hopefully, now we have the mini bye week. We saw what the Bears were able to do last season after the mini bye. They were able to tweak the offense. They were able to fine-tune some things and look a lot better. So hopefully they're able to do some of those because they're going to be going against the Vikings. When you look up ahead, Vikings, Raiders, Chargers have been struggling. Saints have a very good defense. So those Vikings and Raiders games, that's stuff to be looking out for. Also, can the Bears get healthy? That is the big thing that I'm going to be looking out for too. We need Eddie Jackson out there. I thought that Elijah Hicks played a solid game, but there was still a lot of, he made rookie mistakes as a second-year player. I think that Elijah Hicks, with him out and having more of an Eddie Jackson back, and then maybe even, I think Kyler is available to come back because I think he was injured or placed on IR week 1. But I do believe that if this Bears team can get healthy, you saw what happened with the offensive line. The offensive line looked a lot more cohesive. Yes, we gave up a couple sacks, but I don't fault Darnell Wright too much on that. He gave up a sack, but I thought the rest of his game played pretty well. I really like this team if they can play like this. We've talked about this before. To me, this team is better on paper than the way that they've been playing. To me, the first half, they looked like they were coached out there. As long as we can look like we've been coached, this team should be better, should be competitive, should be at least covering the spread. So hopefully this is a sign for more to come. But let me just go through a couple of my notes too, just to make sure that I've gone through everything. I have a couple just kind of calling out Nate Davis, saying that he does look good. Edwards had a good play in a run stuff. I forgot they ran to the outside. Edwards was able to get his blocker, or they were running up the middle. Edwards was able to take on a blocker, shed him, and make the play, which a lot of times our linebackers aren't able to shed. Ngakoue had a good game. But, oh yeah, I want to call this out. Why is Dominique Robinson out there on third downs when he does not get any sort of pass rush? That is something that drives me nuts. And yeah, reload right on cue. They need to get their defense better. Agreed. And that's where I don't get why Dominique Robinson is out there on third down. But at the same time, as I'm saying this, I'm going, but who would you put out there? I know who I would have put out there. I would have put Terrell Lewis out there and Travis Gibson on third down to rush the passer rather than Dominique Robinson. But Dominique Robinson, to me, kind of, I don't want to say a failed experiment because that entails that you got to just cut him. But he has not been looking good. Rasheem Green has not been looking good. You got to look for something to at least bolster this pass rush because I think that the line is something that still is, I think that's causing so many more issues for this Bears team. And when you have such disparity between Andrew Billings, who has been playing well, and a Justin Jones, who is MIA. Justin Jones, the closest that he got to the football all game was because he was being blocked, and then he got off the block because somebody was running by him. Justin Jones has not been doing anything really. Let me just see some of the other pieces. Like I said, another thing, defense. Can we stop sending our defensive tackles in coverage? I liked the defensive end with Yannick Ngakoue, like I called out before, when he kind of went out to the side. I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was a smart play to do. But when you put your defensive tackles in coverage, they can't backpedal. They don't know how to backpedal. The big boys don't know how to do that. Just abandon that, please. Like, that doesn't seem to be working too much. But yeah, special teams really like that. And yeah, offense, you could really tell that they kind of sold it out. But yeah, Mooney and Fields, the connection's got to be there. So I'm looking Mooney, Fields, what's going to happen? I know you guys are BFFs. I know you guys are friends. Let's see something out there a little bit more. And I do agree with Broski. Walker did seem to play well, did seem like he was coming to play. And like we said, this was the line to do it. This is the worst line that the Bears have faced all season, in my opinion. And they were able to take advantage. You love to see it. Bears victory feels good. Now we have a week and a half to really kind of set this in and cherish this. So if you like what you heard, make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. Also, rate the show 5 stars everywhere you get your podcast, especially Apple Podcasts, so you can enter in to win a Darnell Wright jersey. But ladies and gentlemen, Bears win on Sunday. Even though that we won, even though we're still running high, I still want to break down at least some draft prospects for those draft heads out there. If you're not a big fan of the draft, you can just kind of skip over that episode. No worries, but we'll be breaking down defensive ends on Sunday night. Can't wait to see you there. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah.